INSEE, the Terry Riley.
Somehow
In Sync by Terry Riley.
So INSEE was written in 1964 by Terry Riley. The premise behind the case
Terry
is
Riley,
that
donc il fait partie un peu de cette mouvance.
And so our first full run through
C major.
was really cool to hear. Everything was sort of meshing together.
Welcome to Tell Me About In C, the podcast about Terry Riley's minimalist musical masterpiece, In C. In this episode, I speak with Sam Watson, a guitarist who recently played In C with 12 other Salt Lake Community College students on a network of laptops with their instructor, Matt Starling. I interviewed Matt in the last episode. If you haven't heard that episode yet, check it out. I think you'll enjoy the different perspectives of a teacher and a student in this episode. So listen now to Tell Me About In C. Okay, welcome to Tell Me About In C, Sam. So what was your first introduction to In C?
Let's see, my first introduction was via my professor, Matt, who you recently interviewed. And the first class I took from him at Salt Lake Community College was basically a year ago. And he was telling the class a little bit about himself and what kind of music he was into, and referenced In C as a really influential piece of music for the kind of music that he likes to make and what he's into. And I looked up his recording of In C on Spotify and listened to it, and that was my first introduction to it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So when did you last listen to In C?
Last listened to it couple of days ago, and I've been working on a mix that our studio ensemble at the community college recorded, and pretty much finished up with the mix. So my last listen through was, it's like bordering on the mastering phase of it, or it's like nearing completion, just trying to get all the levels set and the right loudness over the whole piece.
All right. What impact has In C had on you personally?
Let's see, I guess the main impact it's had on me is that it's really opened my eyes to a different way to approach the structure of a piece. And I play guitar primarily. That's my main instrument, and a lot of the music that I play, it's like kind of like proggy sort of rock and metal and that type of stuff. And even in there, and there's sort of like relatively complex song structures, there's like repetition of a chorus and a verse and just like, sort of standard song structure.
Yeah.
And when I was familiarizing myself with In C before I started playing it, it made me think of that piece as kind of akin to a river, whereas you start with the first motif or the first module, and then it just kind of flows in a linear manner. And so that's the impact it's had on me, is just opening my eyes to, you can have a different format for a piece of music other than just your standard like intro, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus, and outro sort of.
I had a similar experience. I understand where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, it's a cool piece of music.
Yeah. What is your favorite performance of In C to listen to or watch?
Let's see, I have it written down here. So my favorite one is a recording. There's a video of it on YouTube too. The video is titled Terry Riley and Stargaze. It's live in Amsterdam.
Yeah, from the boiler room.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like that, because Terry Riley's present in it, which is pretty cool. And then secondly, because of all of the crazy instruments that they have involved. They've got everything from guitar to some brass, and it looked like a fretted cello. And then there are some other instruments that I have no idea what they're called. There's some wild and cool sounding instruments in there. So I guess I liked it the most just because of the instrumentation that they chose for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what was your first performance of In C like?
First performance, it went fairly smoothly, and that was partially because of the manner that we were playing it in. Our ensemble class that we played in C with was primarily using Ableton Live, and we're all linked together through that software and triggering MIDI clips. And so everyone had been working on their own sound design for all of the different MIDI clips for each motif or module, and I was playing guitar on it, so I was like kind of the lone instrument that wasn't playing along through Ableton, although I did trigger a couple MIDI clips. And so our first full run through was really cool to hear. Everything was sort of meshing together, and we definitely had some work to hash out on it, like certain people's sonic territory stepping on other people's sonic territory. But it was cool to, I've heard the music before, knew how it was all supposed to fit together, but it was really interesting to play it with a group of people and hear some of those sort of polyrhythms that you get going on with certain modules against each other. And it was cool. It was powerful. It was fun, and it just improved from there.
What is your favorite instrument to perform in C with?
Well, I'm fairly limited in that I've only performed it playing guitar and then triggering MIDI clips through Ableton. And I like each of those for different reasons. The MIDI clips, which I guess is sort of akin to looping in a way, is quite fun because you can manipulate the sound in real time and just focus on that and the sound design part. But I also really enjoy playing guitar over it. It's a different challenge musically to stay with the pulse like that. And what was unexpectedly challenging was to play guitar to it, and it'd come in an eighth note off of someone else that was playing the same motif, and trying not to get sucked into their timing on it and trying to count out myself. So that was I'd say guitar. It was a good challenge to really focus on what I was doing and not get sucked into playing along with someone else.
What do you think the ideal ensemble size is for NC?
So our ensemble was 13 total, 12 students, and then Matt played along with it. And I liked the amount of people there, especially the way that we were playing through Ableton. Our performances definitely had more of an electronic feel to them. There's a lot of synths going on. And that was kind of cool for a big wall of sound sort of vibe. But I would say that ideally having 5 or 6 performers would be ideal, just to have all different sonic ranges occupied, like having a low bass, low mids, high mids, and trebles sort of across various instruments.
Right. What's your favorite phrase of NC?
12.
12.
Yeah, I like 12 a lot.
Okay, I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, and I like 12 because it has kind of a cool blossoming feeling to it. It's like those 2 eighth notes, the half note on B, and then it resolves up to C. And I like that it's a little bit of an ascending melody line, and as you ascend, you get that real sense of tension on that half note on B, and it resolves up to C. And especially coming out of the quicker paced modules before it, it gives a really cool, sort of heroic feel.
Yeah. What's your favorite band influenced by NC?
Probably The Who. I know that their song Baba O'Reilly is a direct, I don't know if it's, I wouldn't say it's directly influenced by NC, but I know that that's sort of an ode to Terry Riley.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned over email, this piece of music and minimalism and Terry Riley and his sphere of music is a little bit out of my wheelhouse of what I'm super familiar with. So I'm not very well informed about his legacy through music, but I do know that The Who wrote that song as homage to Terry Riley.
Yeah. All right. Pulse or no pulse?
Overall, I'd say no pulse.
Okay.
And I'm not totally sure why. There are a few recordings I've listened to where there's been a really sort of jarring pulse, just someone just playing C quarter notes on a piano the whole time. And at least the recordings that I heard with a pulse like that, it becomes a little bit distracting.
Yeah.
But that said, I think you could do it in a way where the pulse is a little more tastefully mixed in.
Yeah.
And then all of our performances we did not have a pulse.
Yeah. And the Boiler Room performance, like with Stargaze with Terry Riley, is no pulse.
Right.
Yeah. How about
Yeah,
loopers? Loopers, yes or no?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I guess it's up to whoever's playing it, you know. I think they're a really cool tool and if you're using a looper, I would assume that you're doing it to allow you to focus on other things, so like real-time sound manipulation.
Right.
Yeah, it's another tool in the toolbox, and if you're making good use of it, then go for it.
How much improvisation should there be in NC?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not one to get too dogmatic with music. I think that that's a question that the performing group should ask themselves before they start playing. When we played it all together, we stuck strictly to no melodic improvisation.
Right.
We had one student who would control the tempo of the piece as we moved through, and so he knew in certain places he would jack up the tempo by 5 to 10 BPM slowly and then release it by the same amount. And so I think if the entire ensemble is on board with having improvisation and discussing where that should be in the piece, then I think improvisation is great. But if everyone's thinking that they're going to adhere strictly to it and then someone decides to randomly go off on a solo or something, then that would mess with the vibe.
I was telling my girlfriend, I learned from a ukulele player, if you screw up and play the wrong note once, it's a mistake. Twice, it's a pattern, and 3 times, it's jazz.
Yep.
And so there's in the recent performances of NC that I've done, there's been a couple of times when I had a wrong note, and then I was like, no, let's just go with that. Let's stick with that. Yeah, that's working. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun way to improvise with it.
Yeah.
Is phrase 35 too long or just right?
I really like 35. I think that its length is kind of its strong suit. The way that we approached it with our group is that we had 3 performers, myself being one of them, that we'd play it sequentially. So performer 1 would play through it 3 times, performer 2 would play through it 3 times, I'd play through it 3 times. We all had pretty different sounds. And I like the length of it because it gives a good opportunity to showcase certain sounds. So I think it's a good length. And I like the dissonance that it provides too. It's cool. Rhythmic and harmonic dissonance.
Yeah. All right, final question for you. What would you ask Terry Riley?
God, I saw that on the questionnaire and I've been thinking about it for the last hour or so. And I still don't feel like I have a great question for him. I guess I would be most curious how he came to decide on each module or each motif in NC, because they all work together and you get some really cool sort of like hemiola type beats against each other, especially in like the final motifs.
Yeah.
And so I suppose I would ask him how planned and intentional was all that, or was it more that he was sort of experimenting, and then just it sort of came organically.
All right, Sam. Well, thanks for the interview. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So thanks for listening to another episode of Tell Me About NC. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode when I sit down with my favorite loop